Hey there, goblins. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name is Robert.
And I'm Erik.
And today we have a very special guest.
We do?
His name is...
Who's that?
Jacques.
Where the fuck did you come from?
Cousteau himself is here.
Hello. I was going to introduce myself, but oh well.
No, please. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jacques.
Yeah. My name is Jacques. I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for a long time. More than 15 years? I don't know. And I've been playing with these two guys for a long time too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you haven't just been playing in our games. We've been playing in your games. So you've been GMing, you've been running. You've got a lot of years on both sides of the screen, it sounds like.
Yeah. I actually have a way less amount of time played than DMing.
Can't say I identify with that.
Yeah,
That's why
okay.
it's
weird, right? Weird.
You're in good company, though.
Forever GMs.
Before we jump into the interview, first, we got to thank our Patreon for being so awesome and supporting us every month. We love all of you guys. If you want to join the Patreon and get your name
And you do.
called out on the podcast, maybe you want to hear some and watch some awesome videos. We make a special video every single month for patrons,
Just for you, mooks.
just for you mooks. Or you want to jump on the special Discord. We have a secret special corner for the Discord.
It's
You get to see behind the scenes stuff. You get to get a bunch of extra info about what we're making and influence on how we're making it.
Mhm.
Pretty much, I just ask the patrons, hey, is this a dumb idea? And they tell me if it's a dumb idea, and it normally is.
And they will. They'll say yes. And they're
Oh,
right,
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh,
you should
yeah.
do it anyways.
So if you want to call me dumb on our Discord, join the Patreon. It's only $5 a month.
that should be like the top tier, being able to just take us to town on the Discord.
Shit on Robert. It's like
Gonna
$10,
go just-
$20 tier.
Robert, where do I sign up?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if this is what I got a phone right here, man.
So before we get into the main topic today, let's talk about what we played. The irony here is I missed the last Edgewatch game. And Jacques is one of the players in that Edgewatch game. So it's almost like I'm the guest, learning about what happened.
We should interview you. We should interview you about why the hell you missed my game. How could you?
Money.
Yeah.
I had to fill in at work and miss the game.
Right.
It happens to the best of us.
Okay, so you asked a question. This is where we should step in because we
Yes.
have the intel.
Step in.
What was our last game session like? Agents of Edgewatch. We're downstairs in a creepy Aradan mausoleum that hasn't had its own god of worship for well over a century. And we're still looking for serial killers downstairs. That's what I remember. Jacques?
Oh man, so I wasn't prepared for this. I don't know why I wasn't.
I didn't tell
prepared
you
for
that there would
this.
be a quiz.
Jacques
I figured
plays-
I would just be like, I figured it. Whatever.
Jacques plays the halfling known as Barley Bramble.
Elmrogan Zbigniew Barley Brambo.
Wow. I
Or
can't believe.
Elmo,
Of
for
course,
short.
you know the entire name of all your players.
It's an important name, and it's an important
It's- yeah, it's
campaign
true. It's true.
detail
Yeah.
that will resonate in future
Yeah.
books.
yeah,
But
Erik definitely
you
does.
forget
a good
everything I
job.
just said.
Yeah. No. Secret. He actually named my character.
Oh, really?
Secret.
Oh, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, we do a lot of shenanigans, and we talk about it on the Discord a lot.
I gave Erik creative agency over my character, and all he did was make me a prince. But he gave you your entire fucking name. That's pretty
Well,
fucking cool.
You showed up with Elmo.
Based on my name.
So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Elmo then, if you can't remember anything from the game.
Well, I mean, Elmo's pretty. He's pretty. He's a frightened little guy.
He's a coward.
That's a word people have called him.
Okay.
But
He would not use that to describe himself.
yeah, but many people have, and will probably continue to. So Elmo Barley Bramble. That's I usually hide in the back. It's a good time. I try to not get immediately murdered like in our other games. Like
what class
That's
is Elmo?
remarkably difficult to do.
yeah. So Elmo is a divine sorcerer.
So he's basically like
angel blooded sorcerer.
angel-blooded sorcerer. So
Yep.
really good at healing.
Very good at healing. Yep. It's what I spend most of my time doing actually. And
Means I'm doing my job.
except for recently because you've gone the whole control wizard stuff.
That's
doing
true.
stinking clouds, your favorite spell.
It's my favorite spell, 100%. I love
Yep.
farting.
If
Yeah.
it smells, it sells.
If it smells, it sells. Awesome. So tell us more about the game, Erik.
Yeah, the game in general, as everybody knows by now, is it's supposed to be like a noir experience,
Yeah.
but it's very difficult to do that because it requires tremendous player buy-in. Noir stories are cynical. People get hurt all the time. While players have agency over their characters, things are supposed to go bad for everybody. Noir stories are full of shitty people making questionable decisions, having to deal with the repercussions by the end of the story. You can imagine what a feel bad that might be for people showing up, trying to do like heroic fantasy, as we've come to know over the past bunch of decades of this hobby experience. So I've had to pull back on the darker aspects of the noir. So it's kind of like, I don't know, people who say they're goth, but they're really not. They just wear black makeup. I was one of them as a kid, so I get to say that.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so like I like the noir trappings and I like the adventure hard-boiled detective stories. And when I put this entire campaign together, it's a 6-volume campaign, and each volume is wrapped around one of the characters at the table. Book 1, which we finished because we're almost at the end of book 2, all of book 1 was wrapped around Elmo Barley Bramble. That includes the major NPCs. That includes all the serial killer stuff that we were trying to investigate and uncover and just figure out. So all of that means that by the end of the story, Barley Bramble, the coward of the group, was also indirectly responsible for the murder of many, many, many people. And because he's a detective, it creates these sticky, deliciously sticky situations. And then having other player characters wrap their stories around Elmo's stories means that they're also in sticky situations by association. As we go from levels 1 to 20, those sticky stakes just continue to escalate.
Sticky stakes. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen?
Elmo's has been the stickiest by far so far.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do you like the punishment, Smalls?
I mean, when I started this character, I messaged you and I was like, "Punish me, daddy."
This is a true story that I have forgotten, and I'm very happy I've unforgotten it.
I was
out of the blue DM. Punish me, daddy.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I wanted to go with the fun, like almost comic relief character.
Sure.
I'm going to sit here and be like, "Hi, I'm Elmo" in the background.
You even picked a Muppet name.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
And yeah, exactly. And then I was like, yeah, make me like hurt me.
Actual piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a hard line to walk when I have to give you what you're asking for and make it appetizing for the other personalities at the table. One of which was brand new to our group, and I had no idea how to make all this stuff interact. So what have we been doing? Like a year and a half at this point of you playing this character?
Yeah.
Wow, has it really been that long?
It's almost 2, actually.
Almost 2.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I know, right?
I think it's 2 in November.
That's crazy. Speaking of anniversaries,
Mhm.
we're shooting this on
We're coming up on a Goblin Salvage Rides anniversary.
the Goblinversary. It's the Goblinversary, ladies and gentlemen.
Goblinversary.
We're shooting this on October 9th.
Okay.
And our first episode went live October 11th, 2022. So that's pretty cool.
I don't think that would have been possible if we hadn't been on the regular week after week interacting with you guys on the Discord.
Absolutely.
And in the comment section. And you guys make this fun for me to want to keep coming back and do more. You're okay.
Yeah.
You guys make it amazing.
Absolutely. No, but seriously, all the support we've gotten so far has been just like, kind
amazing.
of overwhelming. I never thought that people wanted to listen to me this long.
I thought we were just going to be talking to ourselves in crickets this entire
like
year.
5 or 6 views an episode, but you guys have really blown us away by all your support, and
it's making us want to try harder and do better.
Absolutely.
So I think we just dropped a video this week where the
tarot
production
deck
value
video?
is just another level better than what we've done before.
I want
So
to
we're working hard on it, you guys. Just
It's
keep sending us heart
yeah,
emojis.
keep sending us more subscribers.
I thought the point was to make fun of you guys, though. Didn't we just start like a whole segment on making fun of you and telling you you're bad?
Yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. Yeah. Shitting on me is kind of the name of the game half of the time.
Yeah. But that's the Patreon, top tier.
Oh, okay.
You got to pay for that
You gotta
privilege.
pay for that
My bad.
privilege,
My
you know what
bad.
I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that make me? Part of the kink community? I don't know. One more thing I wanted to bring up is I just ran my first ever marathon.
You did 26.2 miles.
Yeah, that's what it says on the thingy.
Yep.
So yeah, I ran the Portland Marathon.
That's not a small thing. Congrats.
Thank you. I did a 4:33, which is not bad. It's not good, but it's definitely not bad. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to try it again next year. And my goal for the next year's Portland Marathon, or maybe even before then, is a sub 4 hour marathon, which is like kind of a big deal. It's kind of like you've made it in the endurance running space. It's kind of like, okay, you're legit now. So that's like an average of 9-minute miles.
That's
So,
awesome. My poodle broke from her leash and I had to chase her across a parking lot earlier this week. And I broke my 5-second record for that.
my
I'm
God.
super proud to be able to contribute to this athletic prowess here at Goblin Salvage Rights.
Awesome.
I mean, you climb mountains and you camp and you hike and you know everything there is to know about firearms, and you probably wrestled a bear once.
yeah, you can tell by the flannel. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
I fit a stereotype.
The Wisconsin stereotype.
Where's the cheese,
Where's
man?
the cheese, man? Yeah, you didn't bring us any cheese.
You said you were bringing food.
I brought mangoes. They're on the
That's
floor.
true. They are.
So your extracurriculars, from what I understand and what I've known since I've known you for a couple of years at this point, you love firearms. So that's combat oriented. You love hiking and camping and climbing mountains and doing wilderness things. So that's also, D&D play space. You have a 9-to-5 job as somebody who builds great big things and is a part of construction projects with millions of dollars attached. There's so much of that I hear about your real life lived experiences. I'm wondering how much of the responsible Jacques blends over into hobby Jacques when you're running games and creating scenarios and adventures, whether they're pre-published or just your own imagination. How much of your real life bleeds over into how you design games to run, or how you shape your characters to play? Or is there any overlap at all?
I try my best to have as little overlap as possible, actually. You'll remember when we were talking about doing Kingmaker, I was like, yeah, I'll play Kingmaker. I refuse to do any of the kingdom building mechanics.
Yeah,
right?
the
Like,
spreadsheets.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I do 8 hours of spreadsheets a day, so I'm good. Thank you.
I cannot blame you at all. If I had to play a character that was a courier and had to run like 17 people and make sure they knew the map well, I would.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I'd take up blackjack.
We should make a courier subsystem for Pathfinder.
I think one of our goblin iconics has to be a monk goblin courier.
Oh,
Like the tree monkey varietal.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I love
we'll,
this. I'm making a note right now.
Yeah.
Name him
But
Ted.
this episode isn't supposed to be about us. Let's turn this back to Jacques here, because
I
I'm
thought
really
I was
curious.
supposed to interview you. I came with questions for both of you, and the first one is Robert, and it's for Robert, and it's about tap dancing.
Oh, God.
Robert, please tell the story that we were talking about before this camera about why you hate tap dancing.
Oh, okay.
You hate tap dancing?
I hate tap dance. I don't hate tap. I hate people who tap dance, basically.
Oh, really?
It's mainly the people. I grew
Tell
up
us what's
doing-
wrong with all of the people who tap dance.
I feel bad saying this. I do, because they're genuinely great people most of the time, and that's what's so obnoxious about it is they do the most annoying style of performance art, and you can't hate them because off screen or off stage they're like the nicest human beings.
We're not
I've ever
allowed to
met.
hate you, tap dancers.
Yeah, so one of our iconic goblins definitely has to have performance tap dancing.
Yeah, nice.
Our goblin bard performance tap dancing.
Little goblin shoes.
Yeah, little goblin shoes. So basically, I grew up doing like performance theater and stuff.
You're
like
a ballet guy.
and I've done some ballet. Yeah, I've done a lot of theater performance and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And tap dancing was always just like there was always these people who are like, yeah, I do this, blah 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 blah, and I tap dance, and it's like, who cares? Like, you're never gonna tap dance during a play.
Mhm.
That's ridiculous. But the
Did
people
we just
behind
lose 3 patrons?
but the people behind the thing was like, oh, they're a tap dancer. Oh, okay. Well, that really shows us something about their character. Yes, yes. I was like, what do I need to take up tap dancing now? This is ridiculous. So yeah, it's basically just like my childhood jealousy of tap dancers
Mhm.
winning, getting parts that I didn't get. And in my mind, it was solely because they were tap dancers and I won.
I'm going to change my bard.
Wednesdays
Wednesdays are just going to be different. Yeah.
I have a buddy named Hee-Jae. He's from South Korea. He married one of my really good friends, and she's absolutely in love with this guy, and he's an amazing human being. And he has a YouTube channel that's actually really popular. It's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and he does
Teach us.
Well, he does Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he apparently is really big in the community, and he makes his own like dance DDR songs.
I was a
stuff like
DDR
that.
guy.
Yeah. And to me, that's just nerd tap dancing.
Mhm.
Right. But it's It's actually
I
kind
see
of
it,
cool,
yeah.
right? Like to me,
It's
that's-
amazing watching those guys because number one, they look like they have 4 legs and
Absolutely.
like 6 arms, and they have a look on their face while they're doing it like they have no soul. They're just like,
What's hilarious though is like TJ does things where he's added. I've seen him add things where you have to hit the ground with your hands.
Uh-huh.
So he's added like new elements to it and stuff like that. What's even more mind blowing is he's a full blown fucking doctor.
Uh-huh.
The guy is a professional doctor
so he's
in
a
South Korea, but he also
He's
just
a
happens to
DRDDR.
have a DRDDR. Yeah, oh my God.
MD.
We both look at each other.
Oh my God. Oh God. So anyway, that to answer your question, yes, that's why I'm not. the
This
biggest
video,
fan
this
of
interview is going to be
package.
3 hours long.
Yeah,
So just sit tight.
buckle up, ladies and gentlemen.
We're all hot air bags here, so
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I want to get back to my question because you delicately dodged it.
thank you. I tap danced around it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where's my rim? I need to shoot it. So you do things in your real life that can and often do bleed over into your hobby life for many people. So like what about like when you're running a game and there's a wilderness component, there's a survival component. You got to look for food, you need to find shelter. Oh, look, here comes weather. You've climbed literal mountains. Do you use all that stuff in your games, or is that not in your brain?
So usually I haven't found a way to make that interesting to your average player, right? So like doing survival situations seems like a really cool thing, except for that's a lot of spreadsheets. I mean, like you got to talk about, if you're doing survival situations, you got to talk about like your food, your water, all that crap like rations, stuff like that. And I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that. That's fair. That's fair.
A look of
That's fair.
desperation right now. It tells me everything I need to know.
Yeah, for the audio listeners.
You've played in my games. I am the laziest DM possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you are so lazy as a GM. This guy will say, okay, I am no longer the GM. It's your
Yeah.
turn. And he'll point to a player, and
Kinda
that player
tired.
is the GM for the next scene. I have never seen that in my life, but this guy introduced me to that. And yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
brilliant. I've never had that happen to me before.
It's a great improv
Well,
tool.
yeah, I only ever GM when you're not here because that's like the weeks that we skip.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you've probably
that makes
never
sense.
been to one of my chaotic one shots that happen.
Not only do you hate my games, but you also hate his, is
That's
what we're
true,
getting
that's
at.
Yes,
true, that's
yes.
Awesome. Yeah. I would love to experience that kind of like GM handoff. Is that something
It's
you just,
strange.
when was the first time you ever did that?
That one time I did it.
That was your first?
Yeah.
Oh, it seems
I
so
mean,
natural. I thought
so-
you were old hat at that.
I've had other players usually I do this in one shots, but I've had other players like play NPCs for me.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be like, hey, I need 2 guards. You guys are guards now. And then the players can take with it what they want, right?
Sure.
So the cool thing about it is then the players can decide, okay, are these guards going to actually let them in?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 2 city guards, you guys are walking in with carriage. Like, is that something that the players want to play through, or do they just want to be like, okay, bye, have a great day, and then you don't have to figure out if that's fun for your players because they'll figure it out for you.
That's wow. I didn't ever thought about it like that.
It's
Yeah.
cool because it shares the GM burden of
Yeah.
world creation.
Yeah.
And it also makes it so you don't have to, mind all 24 NPCs in your brain.
Exactly. And then you can set up your next
Fucking brilliant.
scene without even having to like do anything. Your players will role play within themselves.
Mhm.
You figure out your next scene, and then by the time you hit it, you're prepared for it.
It also lets you buy time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's what I
while
was
everybody's
just
doing their
thinking.
thing, you can just ignore them and be like, fuck, what's next? What's next? I forgot. My notes are in the car under the cat box. What am I supposed to do next? And by having them kind of like do this, it makes you seem like you're the director that has your hand on all the strings everywhere. But in reality, you're running to catch up in some way. I've done that myself in different ways, not using that exact technique. But there are sometimes I'm like, shit, I don't know where I'm supposed to go next. What do I do?
Yeah.
I have to look like I'm in control as a GM. I'm not saying this is a healthy habit. I'm just saying this is one that I do.
Well, I
And
think
so finding ways to buy time.
Yeah, I think what you just like to jump off of what you just said. When you're buying time, when you have to look in control as a GM, that looking in control is really keeping the verisimilitude going.
Yeah,
you know, because the when players trust you, when players trust that there's a greater story being told,
Mhm.
that feeds into it. And if we ever break that that fourth wall, almost,
Yeah.
a lot of times you can almost see it in players' eyes. They're like, oh, he's
And
just
they
as-
stop being vulnerable.
Mhm.
exactly.
And having players continue to trust a GM to be strong enough and in control of the story, whatever that looks like, that allows players to go, okay, so I'm going to lean in. I'm going to lean into my character, My character has flaws and faults, and maybe I'm a bit of a shitty human being. Okay, all of that is an exercise in shared vulnerability. And when the GM is just kind of falling apart at the end of the table, it's harder for players to do that.
I don't do this in campaigns, right?
Okay.
Where I'm doing this for an overarching story or something like that. Because like you're saying, you lose your verisimilitude. Big words.
Big words.
You lose that, and it is a fourth wall break. That is what it is. And so I do it in my more fun, kind of zany Looney Tune games.
Sure.
Yeah, the one shots.
Yeah, the one shots. Anytime I do something experimental, it's always in a one shot, right?
Gotcha.
Good place to do it.
Yeah, exactly. If you ruin a one shot, you're out a couple hours and then whatever. But if you run into something cool, then you have that
that's
experience.
actually a really good point. Like as a GM, we don't really have one way we run games. I mean, there's many different kinds of genres. There's many different ways to tell stories, different kinds of stories, different tools and techniques. How do you do the more riskier ones where you're afraid of coming off looking dumb in front of your players or inexperienced or inept? One shots are a great place to do that. It's a great way to file off the serial numbers, so to speak.
Or like try out a new system. Imagine you have a subsystem you want to work the kinks out of. You could just throw one shot.
Yeah, because the subsystems are super awkward until you get used to them. Like, how do you run a chase scene using points and not roll initiative? Sorry, guys, this feels awkward, right?
And not care about the speed of your players and your monsters or whatever.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's always like, well, are we faster than him?
Right.
Yes.
My monk has a 4,000 movement speed.
I win.
Your troll does not.
4.3 rounds. I just did the napkin math. You know what I mean?
That's no fair. You're a trained marathon runner.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you know more about that than your GM does.
So what's interesting to me, Jacques, is you joke about being lazy, but at the same time, you have the craziest play schedule I've ever heard of as a player in my life.
Prolific.
Tell me about your crazy play schedule. Like, explain this to the viewers, because I don't think a lot of people at home think they play a lot of D&D.
So on Tuesdays, I have every other week game every week.
What?
So I have an every other week game, but they're on off weeks, right?
Oh, they're
so every week I have an every other week game on Tuesday, and then Wednesday I do the Wednesday thing every other week.
Mm-hmm. That's Robert's Kingmaker.
Yep, Kingsmaker. And then Saturday we also have Agents of Edgewatch.
Every other week.
Gotcha.
So I'm in
run two and play two?
No, I run one because the other one is the game I'm playing the Barbarian in.
Okay.
And I know we're kind of infrequent, but that's kind of like the schedule on that.
Oh, so that's our playtest game.
So really, I play.
Oh my God, we threw another game into the mix.
Oh, yeah, we did. We totally.
That's why when you were like, "Hey, would you play this?" I was like,
I have charisma.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you have 2 every other week games on Saturday, one of which you're a DM for. And then we have every other week again.
So the Tuesday. Yeah. So just so I understand that this is complicated. Yes.
Yeah, this is crazy. I'm just trying to
Goblins are not good at math. I ran out of fingers.
So every Tuesday you play a game.
So every Tuesday I play a game.
That's 2 games.
Yep.
And then every other Wednesday you play Kingmaker.
Yep. Play Kingmaker. And then every other Saturday I play Agents of Edgewatch.
Isn't there like a 5th? Don't you have like a work game or something?
That's the other Tuesday game.
Okay, gotcha.
But they're also trying to there's some other people at my work that are trying to get a game going. See, and I'm having a really hard time justifying another one. But
see, when I came up, I got used to the mistaken idea, the false idea that when you play D&D or whatever your TTRPG is, you play on a weekly basis. Every Saturday we get together and we play. It's the same mooks around the table. Sometimes we weave in and out because as the years go on, people drop, other people come in. But that's the paradigm I came up with. You found a way to cheat that paradigm and have multiple games using the same number of days.
Yeah.
And that's fucking brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah.
I also have one that happens every month.
Oh wait, so there is a fifth.
Yeah, there is a fifth.
Okay, there is a
It's
fifth.
just less frequent.
Are these all
to
meat
mention
space
it.
games, or are you running virtual games as well?
One of them is virtual. The one that we
Okay.
do like every every month or so is online.
Do you
Okay, so-
run that, or do you play that?
No,
one?
I play in that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me about an every month game. How do you keep your head straight? Like, I'd imagine if I was playing once a month, it would be like, God, what did
I'd
we do
have forgotten
last
everything.
time? Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good question.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Alzheimer's, the
we're
RPG.
we're playing a Looney Tunes game on that one. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's that one is more just us being good friends. Right?
Vibing.
Okay.
Just it's more about vibing and catching up with the old crew. You know, there are a bunch of folks from back home in the Midwest. So yeah, so that one, is just we're running a rough story here.
Gotcha.
So-
Gotcha. But so the every other week games, you're DMing one of them and a player in 3 others, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me about the DM experience. Is that when you do in the meat space, it sounds like?
Yeah, yeah, we play. That is a game I play with a couple coworkers of mine. I recently got them converted over to Pathfinder. That was a bit of but we made it. We made it.
You guys made it to first or second edition?
We made it to second edition. Yeah,
Nice, okay.
So straight from
That's what I
5th
like to
edition
hear.
to 2nd edition?
Yep.
How have you found the transition to be?
So again, as a GM, it's way easier to run a Pathfinder game, in my opinion. Because yeah.
Go on.
But again, there's so much less left to interpretation. And I work with a lot of people who have a very technical role. And so rules and what they say are very important. And in Pathfinder, because the rules say what they say and they're not up to interpretation, it means that rules are very these are the rules. This is how we play the game.
It's very fluid because of that?
So it's less it's less push and pull and it's more rigid, which is kind of what we needed for the
Got it.
the
So
rule
based on your
structure game.
players, the more rigid system of like the Pathfinder rule system
Yeah.
is a little smoother, which is interesting to me because like the original selling point of 5th edition was that it was more rules light than 3.5 or 4th edition ever was. That is
Right.
true. And I think in a lot of respects and at a lot of tables, with role players, especially who want to role play first and roll dice later,
Mhm.
that is a system that really works really well for them.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest boons of 5th edition is that it's super rules light in a
Sure.
lot of ways.
Mhm.
And the super rules heavy games like what you're describing here, it feels like there are rule systems where there are always going to be more questions than answers. Those are your rules light systems. You're like, well, how do we account for this particular edge case that we're going through right now? We don't. We make it up. And certain players fall apart when that
Yeah.
happens. They're like, no, I need a rule for this. And I don't like to think of Pathfinder 2nd edition as a didactic, heavy-handed, rules-heavy, stay on the rails or get out of the room kind of a rule system. But the fact of the matter is there are just as many answers as there are questions, if not more answers. So it just feels like there's more of that safety net when you're going on the high wire of trying to tell a story. And you can get crazy and say things like, okay, the 30-foot wall that you're standing on the edge of, you leap off of it and you reach out for the tree branch at the massive oak across the way. Well, in a rules light game, you just kind of wing it. And it's kind of like la-di-da, right? There's not a lot of a fear component. But when the GM is aware of the different kind of rules, for every 10 feet, you roll another D6 of damage. Maybe there's a reflex saving throw involved. There might be a DC that's raised and made more difficult because of weather conditions. Maybe we're exhausted, or maybe we lower the difficulty to make that dramatic leap because of XYZ. Maybe we've made these leaps before or whatever. There are different levers to pull that can answer those questions that players ask. And I find that a lot of people just find that really comforting and that's yummy for them. Others, are like, can't we just Imagineer our way through this?
Totally. And that's a totally valid way to play the game too.
Mhm.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, as long as everybody gets the buy-in during
Exactly.
session 0. All these 5 games that you're involved in, are they all on the same system or is it across multiple systems?
I only have one game that I'm playing 5th edition in, and that's the like monthly game that I play with my friends back home.
Sure.
Everything
Because
else with
it's familiar for them and that's what they want to
yeah.
stick
It'd be hard enough getting them to like play
Sure.
every,
And learn a new system.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, the Pathfinder second edition, I was like, hey, I love this game, Pathfinder second edition. And they're like, show me the size of that rule book. And I was like, okay, it's 600 pages.
I sleep on it.
And this is just the one book.
To be fair, it's a Pathfinder, like it's players and GMs in one book.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I think scares a lot of people away.
I mean, I'm here, so I'm obviously sold on the rule.
Yeah,
Like you said,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm not trying to, but there is buy-in there that you require.
and that's changing soon. I was really surprised about that.
Yeah.
with
the
remaster.
the remaster coming up in a month at this point, if they don't push it back.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're taking that giant chunky book and they're breaking it down into 2 smaller books, one specifically for players, the other specifically for game masters. And I think they're also like bringing information from other books like APG and scooting it up forward into those volumes. So we're going to have a lot to say on those. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm interested in
absolutely.
how they organize all that crap because none of us honestly were really happy with the organizational principles they used in the in the core rulebook for second edition.
I have so many opinions.
That's not a new conversation.
I have so many.
But I'm really happy
opinions.
they get a chance to act on that. Paizo is really good about saying, "Hey guys, we want feedback," and then actually walking the walk afterwards and implementing that feedback. Making it actionable and coming out with new products that are better than the old products in ways like organization and other things. So super happy about all of that you guys just brought up.
Yeah, totally. So, Jacques, tell me, going forward, what are the top 3 things you focus on as a GM when you're GMing? Because it sounds like you have a lot of GM experience.
Yeah. So, one of the most important things for me when I'm GMing is watching players. Generally, I just stare at them awkwardly the whole time. No.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like this the whole time.
Stealing his water.
No, this is about Jacques right now. This isn't about me.
Okay.
Don't make this about me.
Go on. Watching players.
No, I mean, like I think that's a really important thing for a GM to do is
Sure.
Because I'm looking for nonverbal feedback from my players to make sure that they're to understand like, hey, should I move on? Are they uninterested in this part? So I watch them, make sure who's engaged, who's not, who do I need to bring in, stuff like that. Top 3. So I've got that. One thing I would like to work on is I play with a lot of new players, and finding a way to make my games a little more new player friendly. Because like that switch from going into this game without really having a ton of role playing experience, and you guys know me, I like to role play basically the whole. If there's a chance to role play something, I'll be like, no, we're gonna talk about this before we want to come in. When these guys say like, oh, we walked up to the monsters and talked to them, and it's like that's me.
His fault.
Yeah, that's my fault.
You're playing a fucking bard in my Kingmaker game, and you're playing a sorcerer in Eric's game. 2 strong charisma characters.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Making the game easier for new players.
Yeah, because like if you're not used to the role playing aspect, it's a little awkward. And if you like get someone in your face role playing at you, it's a lot of energy that you may not be able to process.
It's a vulnerable space for sure.
Exactly. And again, the game I'm running right now is with coworkers, and that's a little bit weird with your coworkers. So, I'm working on finding a way to either make that space different or, find a different way to make it a little more friendly to that, moving more towards a bullet point kind of role playing,
Okay.
Be less acting about it, a little bit more like
describing what your character does.
they say this, and
that's a really good first step, I think, into role play.
Yeah, exactly. We talk.
Imagine what you would say in their shoes, and that's what they say, and then eventually, in a couple months, they'll start talking in character.
Right. Yeah. Learn behaviors for sure.
Yeah.
You said something that my brain completely stopped on, and I want to get back to it. So you said bullet point role playing. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, bullet point role playing. You have a conversation. Say you're interrogating someone. Well, they've got bullet points of things that they can tell you, right? They've got, say you're trying to get information on some bad guy, whatever. and they have 4 bullet points of information that they can learn. So with a new player, we can act it out a bit, or I can say, look, so you do some interrogating with him. You really twist the screws on him, and it starts giving up information, and then I kind of break into a little character voice for just a little bit, and then maybe break out of that as well, depending on again feedback from character faces on the place, to see who's engaged with this, who's comfortable with continuing this in maybe a character voice, or do I need to take it out of that space and then bring it back to the meta space.
Okay.
To continue the conversation, game playing space, to continue the conversation, to make it easier for all the players to engage, not just the one person who's at least semi comfortable with role playing, or to get the guy who's sitting on his phone looking at his character sheet to look up at me.
That sounds like that's a great Swiss Army knife kind of tool. It seems to make the table a more friendly, safer environment, catered to the different personalities around the table. It's also a pace saving. When you bullet point something, you're moving quickly through a conversation. But when we linger in character and we have the pauses and we talk and we're in character and we're in character, we might cover half a bullet point.
Yeah. It draws out the time. It's like, it's what I always say. It's, like TTRPGs live in the 4th dimension, right? We can shrink space time and extend space time as much as we want.
Yep.
And it sounds like the bullet point way is a really good system for keeping you on track. And it's something that Pathfinder APs do for the most part. They give you things that the PCs know.
Yeah.
But like, it's important to copy that, understand it's a framework, and copy it and implement it in your own games, especially when you don't have like an AP to go by.
Yeah.
Are you running an AP for your?
I am. I'm running Quest for the Frozen Flame.
How's that going?
I think so far so good. I've been enjoying it, and I care about myself more than everyone else. So I'm
so honest.
Stand-up member of the tribe
there.
I think it's going well.
So Quest for the Frozen Flame, for people who don't know, that's the one with all the giant dinosaurs and woolly mammoths, and it's kind of like a Captain Caveman kind of experience. How would you describe
kind of like that
what it's about?
I mean, what it's about is it is going back to the conversation where I was like, survival sucks, don't play it, kind of thing. It's a survival game. Like, you're running away from someone who's chasing you. You got this whole big group of people who are chasing you and want to kill you. And you're running to find this big, super powerful thing to, save the plan, because you can't take on 400 people at the same time when you're a group of 4, 3, so
not for lack of trying.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of the high overview, and I'll admit also, I have not read the whole thing.
Sure.
That's totally fine though.
Yeah.
Like
I never read an entire AP before I run book 1. That's just, I psych myself out and I quit.
Yeah, it's so much work. Like 6 books. That's
Extinction
wild.
Curse.
Extinction Curse. Oh my God.
You can't eat the entire elephant in one bite. You just,
and frankly, if you're running these APs as they come out, like you're supposed to, quote unquote, like you can't. It's literally physically impossible for you to read the last book. Yeah. And that's why the synopses in the front of the books are so good.
Yeah.
Why'd
you pick an AP to run as opposed to just creating your own stuff? Was there a thought process behind that? Or did one of your players say, I want to play a caveman?
Yeah. I will go back to my previous comment of I am lazy.
That's what I thought.
It takes a lot of effort to read and then understand and then run them.
When I first started, when I was in like high school and that, everything was homebrew. It was all like, I made everything up, and like all the way through college too. And then I became a person. And
you didn't have to get a job, did you?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Hey, Bill.
I get a job and stuff. And
Bros.
So when I really, really love the Pathfinder APs. I've read through a couple of them. I actually ran some of, what's the
describe it?
It's the In Search of Sanity is the first book. It's the Insane Asylum one with Strange Aeons. That's the there we
Aeons.
Go. I beat you.
I hate myself for not getting that first.
Yeah, I wasn't competing against you, by the way. I know fucking.
I have my hand over the buzzer.
I saw that. I was like, dude, I'm not. Like, You got this, bro.
What is it? It's something Cthulhu. It's something
Strange
Cthulhu.
Aeons. Is that a first edition one?
Yeah, that was a first edition one.
It's like deep in the first edition.
Yeah, it was a first edition one that I was converting to 5th edition at the time.
Oh, God.
So I said I was lazy, but like
That must have been a nightmare.
There's a reason we switched to the 2nd edition.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's so we could play. Yeah. So I was like, this is a lot. But I've kind of lost my train of thought. I figured I would just continue
Do you
talking,
find APs make it easier for you?
Yeah. So basically, I mean,
I feel like Kingmaker's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But you can take the APs and then, I've got a part coming up that I'm totally uninterested in, and I can't imagine my players are going to be either.
Mm-hmm.
And I just take that out, and I'm going to change. Yeah.
So you don't feel bad for removing parts out of an AP you don't think you'll enjoy?
No.
Okay.
the author's not playing in the game with me. Who's going to be offended?
Absolutely, and nobody will know. And I completely identify with that. And yet, when I read something out of Agents of Edgewatch, I'm like, how can I fit that in? There's no angel on one shoulder saying, look, asshole, you don't have to. I just sort of knee-jerk to, it's here. It's got to be relevant at some point, right? If I don't do this, am I burying a lead? Am I screwing something up? Will I break something by not going word for word fidelity to what's printed? And the answer is knock it off. You're overthinking things.
That's how I felt in Kingmaker with the Tartuccio thing. Yeah. Like I played the video game and, spoilers or whatever. Tartuccio is supposed to double cross the players, but he never did when I ran it. But because I read, there's a small section where it's like Tartuccio double crosses them or something, but they never described Tartuccio doing that in the lead up before the mansion burns. So it's like we get to that part in the game, and your perception of Tartuccio is supposed to be way worse than what it actually was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah, right. Fuck. You're running up to the expectation, trying to catch it by the tail.
Exactly. And my problem is I obsess too much about keeping it as close to the book as possible.
Sure.
And when you were like, fuck, the author's not even there. Who cares? I'm like, I care. I care. I want you to have a genuine experience.
Robert, you're not playing in my game right now.
That's right.
So,
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, if it's not interesting to me or my players, why do it? Like,
absolutely.
Sure.
You also have a background in improv as well. So I imagine you have tools that make it easier to just to throw away what doesn't work and put something in its place right away.
I don't know so much about tools. It's an experience thing, right? So another reason why, going back to the game of me making you guys run the game for a short amount of time.
Sure.
Basically at the end of the arc too, I was like, you guys choose where the story is going is improv experience. So
this is the one where when it was my turn, I had a dragon giving birth. It was phenomenal.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the game, it got weird.
It got real weird.
Oh, so that's a story that
all
needs
right,
to be told.
we should just go back and tell that story because we kind of skimmed over it.
Do it.
I ran a game a while back, and we it's a mystery game where we're searching for someone.
So happy right now.
And I had this whole idea planned out, and we're getting to the point where they're gonna this is the big clue, and they're gonna figure out what to go on. And I was like, it'd be funny is if I made other people do this for me.
You had a private conversation with yourself.
Yeah. The internal voice of Jacques saying what would be funny is the most Jacques shit in the world.
We should clip that out, keep it, and use it in future videos. You know what would be funny?
You know what would be funny?
With the Jacques face? Yeah.
But it was just one of those things. I was like, it would be funny if I made my characters what was the big clue? What was the big clue?
Exactly.
Now we're in this room that the other smaller clues were leading up to, and we're supposed to find out something here. What is it?
So I don't understand. How do we get to a dragon giving birth, though?
So what I started with is we have 3 people at the table. So I just started at my left. Erik thought this was some crazy move of me calculating who I'm going to start with and all this stuff. But I chose the person to my left, and then I just went clockwise. And Erik was like, how did you figure that out? You started that worked out really well. And I was like, I will never tell you until right now.
Magic man.
Yeah.
Does not reveal his trick.
Secrets revealed.
I chose the person to my left.
Okay.
It was just batshit crazy by the end. I think Alex and Gabby and me were all involved, and it was just
that tracks.
the personalities you have will determine the level of insanity.
And actually, that's a really good point, though. Like the amount of Looney Tunes that you're going to get into is then determined by everyone at the board.
Yeah.
Like if we have a table full of Tylers, shit's getting real serious, real
It's
fast.
going to be a very specific kind of story that I can't wait to do someday.
Exactly. But if you have like 2 Gabbies, an Alex, and an Eric, it's going to be wild.
And they all walk into a bar.
Yeah, exactly. I'm giving birth to a dragon. Eric is doing coke off the table.
So would you say that that thing you did for that game, which was, I still remember it to this day, it was amazing. Is this like a top tier GM moment for you? Does it make it in your top 3 best experiences?
It's on the list just because of the reactions of the players. And again, it goes to your concept of holy grail games, right? I take a step back from being the DM and being like, this is the experience I want to do. And you guys are going to play in my experience. And it just
I'll be a lab rat.
All right, how do you guys want to end this mystery, right? And so like it lets the people add the few things into the game that they want to see. Again, I can't say that it fits in if you're trying to build like a narrative, an emotional feeling, like you were talking about in your cold opens, picking an emotion or something like that. Doesn't work because too many people doing it.
Zany's gonna zane.
But yeah, if you're playing a zany one shot, great fun. And again,
isn't it weird how the rules are just kind of like different from a one shot to like, this is our campaign. This is our child that we are co-creating together. And on a one shot, it's like, how bad can we fuck this up?
Well, I mean, it gets back to the idea of verisimilitude, right? Of like in a campaign, you have like a group, there's a sunken cost that the group is carrying. You know, every day you play the game is a day you've invested in the game. Whereas a one shot is just like, my character's name is Harry Styles.
Drive it like you stole it.
Like, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So to go back to this, like one of the characters was playing an elf named Legless.
Oh my God, that was this game?
That was,
I've heard stories about this game. This game is famous. This is one of those games I wasn't there. Obviously, that's why he was running.
Yeah. So I knew that this was like the chaos was supposed to be there. Like it was baked in from the beginning.
Animaniacs.
Yeah, it was pure Looney Tunes the whole time.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So
tell me the story. We talked about this before the podcast started. I want to hear it on camera because I only got the very beginning of it. How did you originally play your first games? Of D&D?
Yeah. So my first games of D&D.
Because you grew up in the Midwest, like in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
right?
I grew up in Wisconsin,
and no one played.
I was well, so to be fair, my first game I played with my cousins, and it was a good time.
Oh, cool.
And then I was like, I really want to get into this, so I bought the books, and I was like, hey guys, I bought this new board game, check it out. Like, I'll show you how to play it, but there's really not like. I brought out a chessboard, and we used the chessboard because I didn't have like a dry erase.
Brilliant.
Thing. Yeah, and then I was like, we're just like check out these dice and stuff, and it's pretty cool. And that's how I got people to show up because I didn't want to, I think it was like 17 or 18, 16, 17, 18 area. I just kind of was like, I didn't want to be like, hey, let's play Dungeons and Dragons because people at the time were like, that nerd game.
Yeah, that had a huge connotation.
Yeah, it had a,
In my day, it was that devil game.
Oh, yeah, because you're old.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. I'm not quite that old, but yeah.
We're not
Satanic
that old.
Panic was a real thing in the suburbs.
I believe it.
But so that's kind of like how I started into the game. And again, I also kind of played it very war game style as we were first starting because we were all getting into it all at the same time, and we weren't like role playing geniuses. Even though
you started out as a GM.
Yeah. It's the
opposite of my experience.
I have up until I moved here. Like the first like 10 or 11 years of experience was all just GMing.
That's wild.
Like I'd play in a one shot once in a while.
Well, now I got to know what your player experience has been like. What? How many years was that you were GMing before you finally played a player character?
Like 10 or 11.
How did that first game as a player feel like for you?
It was weird. Yeah,
I imagine
really weird. Yeah.
Did you have like controlling tendencies, or you kind of wanted to stop the GM, or did you?
No, I just like I kind of took a step back from I was kind of the guy who was there at the table to make the math work because I wasn't sure how to do it. I was like the people I were playing with were I came out flat. I was like, I've never played this game other than like I've ran this game for years and years and I've never been a player.
Wow.
I don't
So
understand that
I
mindset.
was, so I was like, you're going to have to work with me here.
That's
So, but
The
that
honesty
was
is really good. Yeah.
yeah, that was, I was like, I'm just take a step back and just wait it out, wait to see how this works. But yeah, I know that's really I mean, I would think there's a fair amount of people out there that have a similar story though.
There'd have to be because,
I mean,
not all of us live in major metropolitan areas where we have access to GMs by the bushel.
Yeah, forever GMs down in the chat. Let us know if you are listening to this at all. But mainly, tell us about your experiences being a forever GM because I want to hear them. Because I have literally the exact opposite experience.
Yeah, origin stories are fascinating to me.
My entire fucking life until like. I mean, I ran a couple one shots here and there, but
you and I both played with people that were significantly older than us.
Yeah,
the people you were playing with, were you all about the same age?
Yeah, they were all people that I went to high school with.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you find that the creativity just flowed easier when you were younger with a group full of young people?
Probably. We also I chose the theater kids on purpose. I was also friends with mostly theater kids. Strategic. So yeah, strategic. Yeah.
So like the varsity football players didn't want to play D&D with you?
Yeah, weird, right? Weird. Also, I'm not a varsity football player. So
that's fair.
Yeah. So not exactly the crew I ran with in the first place.
So when you eventually got to be a player, I've got to wonder, like, God, I'm still choking on that idea of being a 10-year GM before finally playing the game. I don't understand that. That makes this next question just different for me. What's a top tier player experience for you? Given all of that, because you spent a decade of your life, and it's not like you're an old guy, crafting these experiences for other people. When it came time for somebody else to craft an experience for you, I imagine that weighs differently than in my experience or Robert's experience, other people. What's a top tier player experience for you in the brief time you've been a player?
Yeah. So for sentimental reasons, I suppose I'll choose, this specific like instance, but when I was starting playing, again, I hid in the background all the time and kind of just was there. And it came to a point where we were rescuing someone who had got stuck with the Thieves Guild and all that stuff. And I negotiated for that person's like contract with the Thieves Guild. There was like one of those indentured servitude things.
Okay.
To the detriment of my character. Like I had no reason to do this other than it was the right thing to do. And it turned into a really cool scene. That and everyone we ended at that, like at the end of the day, and it was like everyone's like, why don't we just kill him? And I was like, do you think we could have done that? Like, I didn't feel like we could have done that.
Interesting.
So
it's from a place of almost survival.
Well, we could have just walked out too.
Gotcha.
We didn't have to negotiate for this person's, for this person's life, basically. It was one of those, like, that was like my first player moment that was mine.
Nice.
Kind of
okay.
That's
a strange thing. You stood in your power as a character and a player simultaneously, making a scene more complex than it had to be.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave you a strange sort of agency that hurt your character at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was.
You didn't do it for your betterment.
I traded them a relic too. Like,
oh my god,
it was a lot.
Holy shit.
So like it was.
I like that.
Yeah, but to me, it felt like the right, in the circumstance, felt like the right thing to do. And it was the first time I kind of grabbed the reins and was like, let's do this.
It's one of those, this is what my character would do.
Right. Exactly.
I've seen people do that over the years, and it's really refreshing to watch somebody like go from being a wallflower at the table, being like, this one's mine. I'll take it from here. I love seeing that sort of thing, especially from my side of the GM screen. But as a player, I love running support for people who have those moments.
Absolutely.
And they almost always are like linked to the characters they're playing. So when you play a coward and you end up taking over a scene and it turns into a power scene that ends in your cowardice, it's a weird sort of like standing in your own power, the fidelity to your character, and all of that ends up being a memory that you get to carry with you.
Core memory unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at the core. Like that's the cornerstone of what I think TTRPGs are all about. It's creating those moments, finding those little nuggets of gold.
Yeah, it's like we're all running around with like emotional metal detectors.
Yeah,
trying to. Where's the dopamine? Where's the dopamine stash?
Absolutely. So I gotta say, man, you're probably one of my favorite players I've ever played with.
Okay.
Easily. Like from the zany moments to the serious ones, you have a certain ability to go from zany to serious. And I was wondering if you had like a little bit of so a piece of advice for like other players do that kind of thing. Is it just like think of yourself? Like what's going through your mind?
I think I draw a lot on the energy of the other people in the room, right? So if we are going zany, I jump on the zany boat. But yeah, okay, we've been zany for a long time now. Like you can kind of again, I watch people when I play the game also as a DM, and yeah, and I see people. I see you. You're not really a big zany guy. So when I see you get tired of this, I switch the energy.
Gotcha.
And I don't know that there's a particular technique to it other than like feeling out when's the right moment to switch over to something else, and I guess
it could be like I've seen you do it too. It's like everyone's laughing and giggling and it just keeps going. And then the jokes are a little dead, but we all kind of want to keep laughing and giggling.
Mhm.
And then you'll step forward with
lean in.
the serious voice.
Yeah.
All right. And now I
This is
ask
Papa
him.
Jacques.
Yeah. And
Coming
then,
at
and then
you.
I ask him to get
I
on
must
his
use
knee.
that too much.
No, it's a cornerstone move.
It's
It
a great
is.
cue.
It is.
a cue. That's a great word for it.
I use that a lot actually because it gives you a lot of good reaction from people, especially if you lean in and you kind of soften your voice. Everyone can still hear, but I sound like I'm going to tell you a secret. And if everyone else leans in to the moment as well, like physically leans in when I'm doing this, then I know I have I have your attention. You're in the moment.
Yep.
And so it's also like you do it both physically and with your voice. And then it kind of takes the zany away. It kind of blocks cuts throughout the fog. Yeah, because that part of the hard part of switching the tone is getting the I don't want to say attention to do it, but like getting the people in the room, hurting the cats.
I love that saying.
Yeah.
I love that saying so much.
And being like, okay, like let's get serious now. And that's a good way because people physically see you do that. And then you kind of use a different voice. People have to listen to you. And then when you're listening to someone, you also can't really talk about it.
Yep.
So
yeah, like when you're reading a book and you're going through the narrative voice between the bits of dialogue, that the mood shifts and that narrative voice directs you into what they're trying to get, that author's trying to get you to feel in a given moment. And you described almost like what I imagine a directorial version of that being. It's not just the words coming out of your mouth, it's your body language, the physicality of your presence in the room is shaping the experience like clay for the other players. And when you soften your voice, they're not leaning back because we're social creatures, we're social animals. We understand how communication works. We're like, okay, what next? I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And I'm coming along for the ride that you are coaxing me along. And that's, do you think that's just a natural result of having GM for 10 years, 10 plus years? Or is it something you consciously tried to do? Or did you just sort of wake up one day and start doing it?
it works, so I use it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair answer.
I mean, like a lot of things we do aren't intentional.
Yeah.
They're habits that our subconscious builds up. Some
You get positive
schmuck-
reactions to it and you just keep doing it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then some schmuck calls you out on it on a podcast known as Goblin Salvage Rights. And then you kind of like think about it intentionally or unintentionally, but subconsciously intentionally. At least that's the way I think about it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You got any more questions?
You tapped on the idea of a Grail experience. What is your current Grail game that you would either like to GM and have everybody buy into, or you would like to play and have everybody, including the GM, buy in? Before you die, if there's one game that you can get out of your system, what does that look like?
That's a hard question.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, I know.
The important ones always are.
One where everyone's having fun. That's a cheap cop out, I know, but like one where everyone's having fun and playing the game. Like half the time someone's on their phone. Like we talk about this all the time, but like, someone, and it's not so much like I don't fault the people for this or anyone at the table, but like, you know, sometimes you got to pull up your phone and you check that. But if your phone's gone and everyone's in the moment, like, I mean, we talk about this game a lot too. Swamp Vikings game, repeating that experience was, this is also a lot of one shots that you weren't there for.
Yeah, I know. I got to play that once, and then I somehow missed out on the rest of them because of work or something coming.
Yeah, and but that was
what I'm picking up here is your Holy Grail game doesn't have me in it.
I'm gonna have to pay that money for the Patreon so I can so pretty soon. Yeah, this is gonna sheepishly drink my water real fast as we change the subject.
So what about that Swamp Viking experience?
It was just
is it you're trying to chase
such a high energy game. Like most of the time we weren't even sitting. Like
standing in the room.
Yeah, I mean you and I like. You had me up against the wall by my not by my throat, but like we were even like physically getting into that.
You guys were like physically acting.
Yeah, we were almost play acting. Like, wow. You know, you had a Drake that was like pinning me against the wall, and we were doing that physically too. And behind you was standing, you know, Alex and Gabby, watching on as you're doing this, and you know, whispering in my ear like, you know, I'm evil. Or, you know, whatever
always get consent.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we knew each other quite well at the point. Yeah. So you knew that this was, and I do love the physicality of the acting as well. I really like to add physical components to that.
That's something you typically only get in live action role.
Yeah.
For the most part. So having it, how do you do that here? Grid-based TTRPG. Sounds like that's part of the experience.
It's not necessarily like that's a indicator of being a high energy game, right?
Okay.
Of people being invested is like everyone up and about and play acting this because they're in it and they're invested and they're involved. But like as to a particular story, you're not gonna get any help from me, like from like a Grail game, because I go for the moments, the feelings, the emotions. Over like you know, playing in a certain setting. So
yeah. When I describe a Grail experience, that's why I don't call it like what's your Grail game, because it might be an experience. There are physicality and play acting and getting up and jumping around the furniture, being pushed up against the wall, and having the other people react to that in an improv. And then we roll initiative and we grab our dice and go back to the grid. You know, these are you can put that in any TTRPG. The My Little Pony TTRPG, you can do that with that. It doesn't have to be Pathfinder specific. So a Grail experience can be literally, I want to play in Blade Runner because I like Blade Runner. I've got a thing for Harrison Ford. I do. But another type of experience is chasing a specific kind of high. I want to play in a game where we're all making terrible, shitty decisions and everything blows up on us. GM, can you run that? Because that's going to be a different kind of emotional high. So yeah, the idea of live action top role playing. How many people were in that game? Typically, we have 4 or 5 people around a game of a D&D. That one was
that was 4 total.
4 total, including the GM.
3 players, and then the GM.
Do you think that experience you described that you liked, want to continue? Do you think that would have been possible with 4 or 5?
It would definitely be a lot harder to keep the energy.
Okay.
Herding cats, yeah. And again, you kind of have to have everyone to have that energy. So, because we at that game we were just feeding off each other the whole time. And then as soon as one person was tired, we moved on to the next person. Kind of did this rotating circle of like feeding off each other, and that's what the real experience, right? Was just this emotional high, this vulnerable state of all of us feeding off each other and then trying to like poke each other. We're acting like, 12-year-olds, like daring each other, almost pressing each other into the
characters are literally kids.
Yeah, the characters were literally
kids. Exactly.
Trying to replicate the Stephen King's It kind of feel of the world is large and bad and dangerous, but I also live in the suburbs and I understand this place, but it's really big and bad and dangerous, you know? But we're also fully functioning adults, haha, that understand the mechanics of the rules and we know how to leverage the rules in our favor. But we're also kids fucking things up, you know, just getting in over our heads.
And this was a reskin of Abomination Vaults.
It was
right?
Abomination Vaults, yeah.
Totally.
Which is wild to me.
Yeah. I wish we would have kept it going, but you know,
these things happen.
Yeah, for I don't know about you guys, but like for every, I don't know, 5 games I try to run in my life, one of them goes the distance and the others just fall apart. Is that normal in your experiences, or do you guys just tend to bet on the winning horse all the time?
Talking to the guy who has 5 different games.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Teach me, Jacques. Teach me.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, it's a numbers game, really. Like, I mean, I've gone.
Oh, is Pathfinder a numbers game? I had to say it. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, they call it Mathfinder for a reason. But anyways, I mean, it's a numbers game, right? So like, it's not like every single game I joined was a hit and we played forever. Sure. Like I've also, we had a lot of groups that dropped because, you know, life reasons, or maybe it just wasn't fun.
Right.
And we just stopped playing. So like, it's a numbers game to hit, you know, these Grail experiences. Like you're saying,
eventually one of them
hits.
I gotta say, like, if you're listening out there and you haven't had one of those Grail games yet,
you 2 people watching right now,
my 2 pieces of advice are: 1, keep trying, because it will happen,
and be patient and be kind to the other players you're playing with.
Absolutely.
You get invited back and you can keep it going.
Absolutely. Just keep trying, because eventually it'll hit. And when it hits, you need to have the prescience of mind to like sit back at a moment and be like, this is fucking awesome. I found my Grail game, and it's important to live in that moment and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Because that group will eventually, I'm sorry to say, but that group will eventually break apart.
Mm-hmm. Right. But when you do that and you go home and you're riding on that high, find a way to develop language for how to articulate that experience so you can share that with other people and say, hey guys, can we try for something like this?
Absolutely. Because that increases the probability of it happening again.
And that's what it is. I love hanging out with my friends, and I love chasing specific kinds of experiences with my friends. And that is, it's a difficult thing to articulate if that's not a thing you're actively working on. Otherwise, it's just Murder Hobo for days. Yeah. It's the same story over and over.
And Murder Hobo can be fun for a while, but it gets really old really fast.
It's a basic resting pulse.
Mm-hmm. It's not the best. But it's also the resting pulse of a lot of new players.
Which is totally fine.
And I think that like a lot of new players need to just get that out of their system.
Yeah.
It's just a
stab
part
all the things. That's what goblins do.
Exactly. It's just part of the growing experience as like a TTRPG player.
Yeah.
And
it's not
totally
childish or anything. Yeah. That's not a thing I'm trying to express. Mm-hmm. It might sound like it, but I'm not. It's sort of like it's low-hanging fruit, and there is much fruit in the tree.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. All the fruit is delicious. But eventually you run out of fruit on the bottom branches.
Exactly.
You got to climb stuff. So yeah, I think that Grail, like, what is your Grail game experience? That's the most important question I can think of to ask. I feel like you answered it pretty well. Is there anything else you want to get in?
I think we're all good. This episode's probably already like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we might want to call it right here.
My wife thought it was going to take 3 hours because you and I run off at the mouth for 2. We were going to add an extra hour just as a buffer.
We could totally keep this train running, but I think this is a great place to start.
Is there anything you wanted to leave the other Gabos with here in the tribe? Any small bit of anything, really?
Some sage wisdom.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I suppose I can always say, keep it weird.
Keep it weird, goblins.